Welcome to Wager Talk TV. I am Kelly Stewart. I am joined today with Teddy Covers. If you guys haven't checked out our 101 videos, they're pretty awesome, so get on that. Also, today, Teddy, we're talking about something I've heard a million times. I think there's even a podcast named after this, Pros and Joes. So what's the number one difference between what a pro is versus who a Joe is?
Well, I mean, a pro is a successful bettor, a wise guy, a professional bettor, or doesn't even have to be a professional, someone who makes money betting. A Joe, not so much. Joes are, let's call them casual bettors who are trying to improve their craft, some of them not so much. But pros and Joes are a pretty sharp dichotomy between the two.
So a big difference is Joes just remember what they saw last weekend in the NFL or college football, but pros know that the reality is there's going to be some variance.
Sure. I mean, you know, the top two differences probably, you say Joes bet teams and pros bet numbers. You know, Joe's going to bet on the Patriots or the Steelers or the Rams or whoever, and the pro's going to say, yeah, I bet the Patriots at -6.5. Or I bet the Rams at -3.5 or whatever the number is. The pro definitely interested in the numerical factor there. And also, you made an excellent point there. Pros definitely expect variance from one week to the next. Joes, they killed them last week, they're red hot. They tend to expect to see exactly what they just saw, which, as we know, isn't often the case.
So I'm going to go ahead and guess then Joes play every primetime game on the board, probably bet the over. Okay, maybe not that much. But the pros actually cherry pick certain games when they know they have an edge.
Sure. I mean, Joes are going to bet the TV games, and I understand. You want to bet the TV games? Fine. Don't put a substantial wager. You know, you want action? Sure, $20, $50, $100, whatever you want. Don't go nuts on the TV games. The pros aren't really worried about who's playing on Sunday Night Football or what the marquee matchup is for Saturday night. They're very happy betting a Sun Belt game or a MAC game or a game between the Bears and the Browns every bit as much as any of the marquee matchups.
So, for example, you know, it's a bit of bad weekend, and then the Joes go into Monday night going, I have to bet Monday Night Football so I can get my money back. The pros aren't doing that. If they've had a bad weekend, it's just time to wrap it up.
Sure. As a bookie, you used to love Monday Night Football. You know, I mean, there was nothing better than Monday night because everyone had a bad weekend and was going to bet Monday night, and they lost more often than not, and you end up with some really nice scores. So Joes always try to get even Sunday night, Monday night. It's a real leak in what they do. Pros aren't doing this double or nothing nonsense. You take a loss, fine. You take a loss, you pay your man, you still have money to bet again next week.
So Joes versus pros here in a bankroll perspective, pros are going to take their percentage, and that's just going to be the max bet that they're going to bet, where Joes probably try to double up or they try to bet more than a percentage of their bankroll and wonder why they end up broke faster than not.
Sure. I mean, it's one of the biggest weaknesses of Joe's. Obviously, we're talking about many of them. But betting too high a percentage of your bankroll when you get into these double or nothing situations, or I got to do it again, or I love this game, let's load up on it. You know, it's not a recipe for long-term success. Professional bettors, you know, the pros are really going to make sure that their wager size is in a relatively small area, from the lowest size wager to your standard to your step-up wager. You're not talking about a huge differential. You're talking about a modest differential when it comes to the Joes.
So let's talk about pros versus Joes doing research. Like, from a sizable database perspective here, are we just thinking that the Joes just completely ignore that?
Yes. I mean, the bottom line, you know, Joes ignore small sample sizes. They've lost the last 3 times they played the Packers. Okay, you know, knock yourself out. Pros are going to do their database research. Just about every pro that I know does some database research. Most of them do a lot of database research, as opposed to looking at relatively small sample sizes and making huge assumptions based on those small sample sizes.
Speaking of research, I mean, Sunday night, we're getting college football. Monday, you know, we're getting NFL lines early. The pros are spending all week looking at these numbers, watching them move, checking out injury reports, looking at matchups, like you said, database over the last several years. I mean, the Joes are just so casual. They just look at it Friday afternoon and go, okay, yeah, I think I'll bet Oklahoma -6 touchdowns this week.
Friday afternoon. How about Saturday morning, you know? How about 5 minutes before tip-off? Kickoff, I should say. And that happens all the time. Look, Joes bet when they have time. If you got time during the week, you find 5 minutes, an hour, you're going to bet when you have that time. Pros are going to be making their bets throughout the course of the week. You're going to be betting on Sunday night, Monday morning. They're going to bet on Tuesday when the totals come up. They're going to bet in the hours before kickoffs when the lines have adjusted significantly. The more time you spend focusing on the lines themselves, the more likely you are of winning games by a half point instead of losing games by a half.
Very nice. You know, it's tough here. This is where I go back and forth between the Pro and Joe's because I still get so mad sometimes. When I lose a game, I know I should have won. I handicapped it well. Everything went into my favor, and then boom, you know, sack, fumble for a touchdown with 45 seconds left, and I'm going, okay, that hurt really bad. Tell me the difference between Pros and Joes when it comes to taking their losses, I guess, more gracefully when it comes to bad situations like that.
Look, everybody gets pissed off when you have a bad beat in the last minute of a game or a stupid turnover costs you at the end. You're going to have bad beats. Pros are going to have them. Joes are going to have them. The difference is how the two groups deal with them. Pros are a little bit calmer just because you've had more of them. You know, the more bad beats you have, the calmer you get when you get the next one, generally. Whereas Joes will oftentimes let the luck factor drive them crazy. And if the luck factor is driving you crazy, guess what? It can influence your handicapping for the next week's games and the week afters. You got to let this stuff go. There are weeks you're going to have bad luck, and it sucks. Guess what? You got to wipe the slate clean on Sunday night and be ready for the new slate of games, or it'll cost you.
We kind of talked about this as well in terms of bankroll management, but I've seen it week in and week out with my buddies. You know, they come to Vegas, and here we are sitting at the sports book, and they lose a bet, and they go rush to the window to bet more, and they're like, "Don't you think we should bet the second half, Kelly? Don't you think we should bet this next game?" And I'm like, "No, I've already bet my games on Wednesday, guys. Like, these are my games. I'm not doing the exact. I'm going to do the exact opposite as what you're doing."
Sure. I mean, Joes are going to bet more when they're losing, which is, of all the strategies we're going to give, this is probably the worst thing that Joes do. You're struggling? Don't bet more, okay? You're not seeing things clearly. It's not the time to up your wager size and add 3 units and add 5 units. We see it all the time with Joes. Pros will do the exact opposite. When you're seeing things clearly, you're going to up your wager sizes modestly. When you're not seeing things clearly, you're not going double or nothing.
So Joes probably lose the most money on, if I had to guess, parlays. We've kind of already touched on that in a previous video. And teasers. The Pros, let's be honest, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth of it. I mean, Joes are going to spend a lot of their time trying to get 8 teams to hit and figure out where the extra 4 points here and 6 points there are going to make a difference. The Pros concentrate much more on straight bets and therefore have less variance, because when you're talking about parlays and teasers, the variance can be enormous. And if you're running through a rough stretch and not cashing any of them, it gets pretty frustrating for the Joes. So straight bet, definitely something that the Pros do more than the Joes.
I love it. Teddy Covers trying to make you guys just a little bit more pros for this football season. Right now, $100 off Teddy Covers 30-day all-access pass using coupon code Vegas100. As always, guys, give our videos a thumbs up, a like, share them on Facebook, share them on Twitter, and make sure that you check out our other videos on YouTube.